What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. We continue with our 2022 predictions. Minnesota is up next. You see some of the other predictions here. The FPI has them at 7.5 and 4.6. Athlon at 7 and 5. The over/under is at 7.5. So 7 or 8 wins seems to be the consensus here for this Minnesota team. A bit of a surprise last year, going 9 and 4. I don't think a lot was expected of this Minnesota team, but they proved to be a pretty good team. We're in the top 25 at times. Looking ahead to 2022, a decent amount of production coming back. A lot of experienced players coming back for them. Tanner Morgan back at quarterback. Of course, Mo Ibrahim back from that injury. The running back room looks really solid for Minnesota. Offensive line would be the only concern for me on the offensive side of the ball. They do lose some key players there. Had a very veteran offensive line last season, and the defense returns a decent amount as well. So this Minnesota team has a chance to be pretty good. I think they're right there with Purdue, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Nebraska in the Big Ten West. That is really a 5-team race in that division, in my opinion. You look at the schedule here, they will open up with New Mexico State and then Western Illinois. So a couple of cupcake games to get things started. Don't really see them having any problem in either one of those games. So I've got them starting 2-0 before a big non-conference matchup there with Colorado. They will play them at home. Not very high on Colorado. I don't think this will be too tough of a challenge. I don't think it'll be a blowout. Colorado will be good enough to keep this game interesting for a while, but I think Minnesota will pull away in the second half. That run game, I think, is going to be big for them. We know they've got the running backs, like I said. If the offensive line struggles, then Minnesota may not have as good of a year as I'm expecting them to. If the offensive line is better than I'm expecting, then this team could, again, be right there in contention of the Big Ten West, maybe even win that division. But anyways, back to this game. I think they will beat Colorado at home. Pretty close game, fairly close game. Not a, let's say it'll be about a 14-point win, something like that for Minnesota. And that's going to get them off to a 3-0 start. Tough game coming up next, though. Michigan State there on September the 24th. They will play them on the road. I'm very high on Michigan State. If you've watched my other videos, you know that. I think they're going to be really good this year. I think they'll be a better team. I just think they will be better than Minnesota, plus they're playing at home. Not really much reason to pick Minnesota in this one. I'm going to go with the Spartans, and that's going to drop them to 3-1. Next game is against Purdue on October the 1st. Should be a good one. Big game in the division. This is one of those games that I think really could go either way. I don't really have a feel one way or the other for this matchup. It's going to be interesting to see what the Minnesota defense can do against that Purdue offense. I think their best defense, though, might be the offense and running the football, being able to keep the ball away from Purdue. They're playing at home. Again, it's a toss-up 50-50 type game. Usually I'm going to go with the home team there, and that's what we'll do here. I'm going to go Minnesota, and that puts them at 4-1. Next game will be on the road at Illinois. Illinois shouldn't be very good this year. It is on the road, maybe a little bit tricky after a big game against Purdue, and then Penn State coming up on the road the next week. So yeah, you could see that being a bit of a trap game. It's actually get a bye week before Purdue and Illinois, so that'll help them out as well. And they will be the better team. Maybe a game that's closer than the experts think, but Minnesota still finds a way to get the win and improve to 5-1. Next is Penn State on the road. This will be a tough place to play, obviously. A tough matchup here. Teams are pretty even, in my opinion. You got two quarterbacks that have been around for a long time, and Sean Clifford and Tanner Morgan. That'll be an interesting battle there. Penn State, a little bit more talented. Maybe Minnesota has an advantage in the experience side of things, but home field advantage, I think, will be the difference. Penn State not losing this one at home. I think Minnesota drops to 5-2. Next game will be against Rutgers. This will be a home game for Minnesota. Rutgers should give them a little bit of a fight in this one, but I think Minnesota will win. Kind of similar to the Colorado game. They'll win it by a couple of scores. They'll put it away late. And I got them beating Rutgers and improving to 6-2. Next up, it's a road game against Nebraska. Another tough place to play. Yeah, they've got to go to some tough environments in the Big Ten this year. Michigan State, Penn State, Nebraska, and Wisconsin. All, again, very tough places to play. Nebraska, I think, similar to Penn State, will have a little bit of a talent advantage here. Minnesota maybe with the experience edge, but it's kind of the same story there. It's a coin flip game. I'm going to pick the home team in that scenario. and we're going to go with Nebraska. So Minnesota drops to 6-3. They will play at Northwestern next. Northwestern, I think, will be better than they were last season, but how much better, that's the question. Probably not good enough to go on the road and beat Minnesota. I think Minnesota's run game will be good enough to take care of business in this one. Pretty close game, but I do have them beating Northwestern. Puts them at 7-3. Iowa is up next on November the 19th. Home game for Minnesota, toss-up type game. I mean, that's really, I guess it's kind of boring when I do these predictions for some of these teams because it's basically just a lot of a toss-up 50-50 type games, and I just pick the home team. And that's just kind of how it works out. And that's what we're going to do here again. Minnesota, Iowa, basically a coin flip game. Going to go with the home team, going to go with Minnesota. And then we finish things up with Wisconsin on the road. You're going to see two really good rushing attacks in this one. I think Wisconsin maybe has the better rushing attack because of their offensive line. They should have a better offensive line than Minnesota this year. These two teams are pretty similar, though. And again, it's one of those games. Flip a coin, 50-50 game. We're going to go with the home team. So I think Wisconsin will beat Minnesota. All four of their losses, I've got them coming on the road. I could definitely see them taking care of, I mean, I am predicting them to take care of business in these other 8 games, but I could possibly see them winning one of these games, maybe stealing one of them on the road and getting to 9-3. It's going to be tough, though. All 4 matchups will be very tough. You could also see them potentially losing to Purdue or Iowa and maybe dropping to 7-5. So I think 8-4 right there in the middle, a pretty solid prediction, and that's my pick for Minnesota in 2022.